here today to discuss the Orvis Helios 3D in a 9-weight application. For New England saltwater, stripers, albies, and even if you're thinking down south, some permits, some redfish, whatever it is, this is a great rod for those situations. I think it's way better than the Helios 2 in those situations. I want to talk a little bit about why and share my thoughts. Let's start with why Orvis came out with this rod. They had for years the Helios 2. It was their most popular rod in the lineup, their flagship rod. It's a great rod many people knew and loved. They introduced this one in 2018. Looked totally different. It's part of this, I think, longer arc that Orvis is undergoing at the moment. They're coming out with this pro brand. You see a lot of their branding. The photos are like extreme HDR. They're a little bit overexposed. The colors are very different. I think they're going for a younger, slightly more aggressive generation and audience. This rod definitely lives up to that in terms of the branding. You see, as we already talked about, this large white stripe here on the front. I was out fishing off Cape Cod early in the spring, and I saw a boat, one boat over, fishing with the exact same rod. I could see it across Cape Cod Bay. It happened to be Tom Rosenbauer. We didn't arrange this, but he was there in the boat next to me. It's sort of like Grundon's, the bright orange overalls. This is a rod that you will recognize down the river, across the ocean, between two boats. I think Orvis is pretty savvy in that way. Not everyone has loved it, but I think it's pretty savvy. There's also, the branding on this is a matte sort of carbon black. You can't see, unlike sort of a Scott rod or something like that, you can't see any of the graphite. It's completely hidden under this graphite matte black, midnight black finish, I think they call it. I think it looks pretty slick. It's definitely a modern look, not for everyone, but I like it. Coming out with this rod was not just about branding alone either. I have to give Orvis credit for coming up with a new approach. They all came up with this approach where they have a high-speed camera and they monitor the way that the rod tip moves. And they've tried to take away some of the design from a sort of human rod designer and actually put that into some computer simulations and really through a more data-driven method come up with a rod that has less flex and so it tracks more accurately as you cast. They believe that they have come up with a substantive enough innovation here to warrant the release of a new rod. I have to say, the Helios 2, there were some weights of the Helios 2 that I really liked. Like the 5-weight Helios 2, I thought was a beautiful rod. I wasn't actually a huge fan of the Helios 2 in some saltwater applications. This is a huge step forward in terms of the Helios brand for New England saltwater applications. This is a rod that I would highly recommend for New England, whereas I would not have recommended the 9-weight Helios 2 in the same way. Starting down here at the bottom, they've got a cork composite fighting butt. That's not going to wear out on you. An anodized aluminum reel seat here. They also have this nice trick where they're able to engrave your name on the reel seat here. That's just a real nice touch, I think. It looks like they've exposed some of the graphite from the rod, but actually I think underneath the reel seat that's just a sort of exposed carbon insert. And then for the reel seat, and then for the actual handle, you've got some high-grade cork here, and it's a little bit of a snub-nosed half-well grip here. Super comfortable, not too exaggerated, fits nicely in the hand. Moving up the rod, the guides are all titanium, super light, very durable. They have the alignment dots here on the rod as well. That's just a small detail, but it's something that I really like. It just helps if you're trying to sort of boot up real quickly and get your gear together as you get on a boat. Now, Orvis, with the Helios 3 release, released both a 3D and a 3F. So what's the difference? The 3D represents distance, whereas the 3F represents feel. Now, what I will say is that the 3D in the environments in which I've tested it, and that would include Cape Cod Bay, as I've already mentioned, false albacore, stripers. I've even taken it salmon fishing up in Canada and in Iceland. This thing is a real cannon. If you're on a boat and you want to pick up, I was using the Rio Outbound XP line, so pretty short, heavy saltwater intermediate line. This would pick it up, load, and you could just toss a whole bunch of line. Same thing with single hand spay line that I was using. You could pick that up real easily and lay out some nice line with that. You don't have a lot of feel on this rod in terms of it's not one that's going to bend down into the grip for you, unless you really overload it. But you do get a whole lot of power. So if you're casting at busting schools of fish, stripers, albies, whatever that may be, this is a really great rod for that. I also just want to talk a little bit more about, we've already talked about this branding here. I respect what Orvis is doing here. They're trying to reimagine their brand a little bit. They're trying to reach a new audience. That includes their 50-50 effort, which is to try to encourage and realize gender parity on the water, something that I think is long overdue, and I applaud Orvis for doing that. It's also trying to reach a younger demographic, something we need in this sport, something that I think is welcome. And, when it comes to a rod, I like it. It stands out. It's unique. They're trying something new. The rod's an absolute cannon. It's perfect for New England. Saltwater has treated me well, and my larger freshwater applications as well. So, hats off to Orvis for coming out with a product that meets or exceeds the Helios 2, the predecessor. I've really enjoyed this rod. I look forward to using it for years to come here in New England saltwater. If you have any questions, if you guys have tried it, if you've used it, if you have your thoughts, please leave those in the comment sections below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it.